Well, really appreciate it, my brother. As we watch the international foldings unfold, and we realize the quote unquote muzzling and lack of information. We really called upon you to be a leader this morning. Inform your people, educate your people, and put some perspectives before them so we can get a greater understanding of what's happening in the relationship with the colonializers, if we may call them that, and if it presents any window for us, if it changes nothing for us. We just love our country and want to preserve our freedoms for generations to come. You guys are involved in the intricate legals, ins and outs, and fighting for the territory. We found it most fitting, even though we do music on the Fridays. Some mornings the situation is greater than the music, and this is one of them. My brother, I don't even know where do you start this, but how can you
No,
summarize
well, I
what
will
we
start it for you. I've been on this since 2015, as Sam would would say. So there is no, I am not, I'm not confused as to where to start. Let me just
go
say
right ahead?
good morning again, and let me just clear the particular record. One of the reasons why I decided to run for political office in 2019 was because I saw where we were headed in relation to our relationship with the British government, um, concerning a number of issues that they were bringing to the forefront in the other overseas territories and indeed in our territory. I had the good fortune, as I said before, over and over, of working with the late H. Lavity Stout, with working with the late Ralph T. O'Neill, with working with the actual former premier Andrew Foy,
Yes,
and
yes.
working with the present premier. So it was all of these that I'm saying that we have to come under one understanding. Number one, my advice to them has always been read only from documents that exist. Do not put into the atmosphere anything that you have to defend because you made a decision that this is what you think it is. Read only what is there. And this is how I try to conduct the particular affairs. Now, I sent you a letter that was written to His Excellency John Rankin from the Right Honorable Jesse Norman. He's a member of Parliament, and now, since the 7th of September.
Let me put that out. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the first bundle. Honorable, we deal with bundle.
Okay, good. This is a document written, well, it was dated 17th of October, 2022, by the Right Honorable Jesse Norman, Member of Parliament, Minister for Americas and the Overseas Territories. Now, what the little known fact there is that on the 7th of September, 2022, he replaced Member of Parliament Amanda Milling as the minister for this particular subject of overseas territories. So he is the new minister for overseas territories from the 7th of September,
Right.
2022. I had to research that because once his name came up, I was like, okay, we have a new foreign secretary and a new minister for overseas territories.
Right, right.
Yeah, so that's 17th of October, 2022. Now, I'm just going to read excerpts from the letter. In the second paragraph, for instance, I'm going to read two sentences in there. It is one of my top priorities as Minister for Overseas Territories to ensure that the people of the BVI see the reform that is desperately needed after years of poor governance. And in the last sentence, I received a detailed briefing on the Commission's work and its report, the BVI Government of National Unity Framework document, with its plan to implement 48 of the recommendations, and the then Foreign Secretary's decision that an order in Council to implement the 49th, which was the first on the list, I would say, should be made, but not immediately brought into force. We're going to get back to those two lines in that particular paragraph. In the third paragraph, the last sentence reads, I would not expect to see any further missed deadlines now that most actions are well underway. We'll get back to that. On page 2, the sixth paragraph, the last sentence, be grateful if you could submit a report at the start of December, which means that you have now until the end of November, on the issue of tender waivers and single source procurement so that I can assess progress ahead of the next quarterly review in the public's interest. And in the penultimate one, which is the seventh, it says in the last sentence, the UK government remains committed to taking the necessary actions to ensure that they see the reforms delivered. I'm just reading from documents so that I am not making up any of the stuff as I have tried to do. In the second paragraph again, the very first sentence this time, it is one of my top priorities as Minister for Overseas Territories to ensure that the people of the BVI see the reform that is desperately needed after years of poor governance. Okay, so those are the particular excerpts from this. But now that everyone have the document, they can read the entire document. Now let's go back to some of what was said. If you remember, on the 9th of June 2022, the governor and the premier held a press conference, and they had decided that based on the document that they had entered, the framework for implementation, that there will be no enforcement of the first recommendation, which is the suspension of the Constitution in part or in whole. And if any such suspension is required, there will be a conversation between the governor and the premier and the government before this is done. What Minister Milling at the time had said, that we hear you, we understand, but we will put measures in place for quick delivery. Never did the premier, I might say, and I'm sure that I did not, thought that that meant that they will go to the Privy Council and go to the Parliament and have this document readied. There are two things that I have requested and still have not received. Number one is a signed copy of the implementation agreement, because they always speak of the 48 and others. I don't know what the and others represent. We need to see that. A signed copy, not just a draft and not just an unsigned copy. We need to see that, number one. Number two, we've asked for the particular affidavit that had to be produced to the Privy Council and to the Parliament so that we can see what specifically did Minister, at the time, the Foreign Secretary, the Trust, what specifically did she advocate? What did she put forward to the Privy Council and to the Parliament for them to overwhelmingly say that this order in council in weight is a necessary document? Is it only based on the 48 recommendations and the others that the government agreed? Because I have held from before that none of the 48 have risen to the point where it warrants suspension of our Constitution in part or in whole. I hold on to that, and I have not seen any of the provisions which warrants such a draconian and a ill-advised move.
Honorable,
except they may. Yeah, go ahead.
Honorable, not to interrupt you, but to dialogue, I want to play devil advocate, because I've thought on many angles, and then this angle came to me, and I got you a setup question, just a realistic question. You think, and you could answer it honestly, you think over time the continuous will or lack of will thereof demonstrated to do the basic good, the basic right, the basic will, all the above, is what really make them put that over it, whereas these brothers ain't going to listen, they're going to say yes. And you think it got anything to do with a continued pattern or not genuinely wanting to do right by the people, or doing right by the people for them basic needs, like not holding any individual guilty. But you think by any chance, watching all of them ways there, them conclude that's a final safety lock on the door just in case? Like, just plain devil advocate.
Well, okay, fine. It is a very good question, and one in which I have said, and I have it written in the document in the commission when I appeared before the commission, that this exercise of a commission of inquiry would have been best served as a review of governance of the Virgin Islands for whether they wanted to do it 55 years, being from 67 till 2022, or for 72 years, since the Constitution was implemented from 1949, 1950, straight through to 2022, that it would have been best served as a review of governance over this particular period, as opposed to a commission of inquiry, because this is what it was. It was a review of the entire governance. And where I hold, back to your question, we'll be crazy to not have some of this in terms of some of the missteps over the years, because they talk about governance, poor governance over the years. So yes, there are missteps, but name me any other that don't have the same governance issues. So we have a lot to do. This is the BVI, and this is what everybody is saying. Forget about St. Thomas, forget about UK, forget about United Kingdom, forget about Canada. This is BVI. Let's center our attention here. Well, let's center our attention here. For me to sit and accept that there was no leader before, during, or after that can, quote unquote, get us into the governance structure that we need, I reject it. Then I reject it now, and I reject it from the grave, because I am saying that the actual evidence clearly states that we have brought this country in good governance from the particular areas of concern. There are missteps. There are areas that we must, as a government, as a people, correct, because governments come and governments go. The way that the civil service is formulated is to make sure that we have persons in the service now ranging on 40, 45, 30, 25, 20 years. They are the ones who from year to year had to be trained to manage a particular government and manage the policies that are introduced by new governments from time to time. The governor through the Constitution, in part to the deputy governor, are responsible for making sure that they have a well-trained, oiled machine in the civil service to make sure that all of the tenets of good governance, accountability, and transparency works.
Right,
if they don't work, okay, one second more.
Yes,
if they don't work, then the same governor has the impart of justice to make sure that everyone is brought to account who does not follow the training that they got. Go ahead.
So what you're saying ties right into a lot of what came up on the show this week, that we need fundamental, systematical, structural changes to how certain things have done from an accountability standpoint, even a function standpoint. We were in a reasoning yesterday with another member of the House, and we realized that the GIS department is understaffed, and if them really supposed to be a source of government information on an accountable pace where people could follow in a real time and XYZ, it going to need more staffing to accommodate that. But somehow we talk about cutting the civil service versus rediverting it to making sure that we have a functional system, an accountable system. I just wanted to tie bring what you're saying full circle, and of the governor has gotten a free pass on that, the deputy governor has gotten a free pass on that. The brother, they put a lot of energy into pioneering greatness, but we don't see that same ethic in his government job, where the salary coming from. If he go to work with the same pioneering greatness mindset, we could do exuberant things. Elizabeth, them would have to run.
In terms of the preparation for the civil service, it's important to understand that the 3,000 or 4,000 public officials that are there, we have to make sure that we uphold them in their particular tasks and roles. We have to understand that it is a duty for all of us to make sure that they're properly trained so that all of the time frame, the product and service delivery system is bettered, because it is all people. And from MEC, the late Honorable Aslav Stolt was there. There were cries to, quote unquote, cut the civil service by 15, 20, 25%. He held off on it. There were cries for the late Honorable Artie O'Neill to cut the civil service, make it more efficient in lean, mean machine from during his particular term of service. And when the Honorable Foy got in, there were discussions in terms of the need to do the same thing. Now, be it right, be it wrong, as far as the UK is concerned, then we have to understand that families are involved here, and these are our people, because we fought for all people to be involved in these particular positions. And when they get cut, then there is another outcry that must be looked at. And during the same pandemic of which people talk, we had to make sure that we kept the same public officials, engaged.
Well, I would like you. We were dealing with the present where we are this morning, where we have England House in chaos once again. We were wondering, within the entire deliberations, if you could tell us, well, where we are, what can we do now in a situation like this? What can the opposition do? Just as a senior statesman and as a leader, my brother, if you can show us some.
Well, the thing that I think Honorable Fraser on his website or on his Facebook page had said it best. It was introduced. This order in council was actually championed by the Prime Minister Trust when she was Foreign Secretary. She went to the Privy Council, went to Parliament in order to get it enforced, and he had asked that a delegation be sent to get it off. Now that we have all of this chaos in the UK, and we have to make sure that we are well represented. Now, if you will remember, I have said that it is ill fate for us to have the Constitution suspended in parts as it is, and then call a 16-member board influenced by the very governor to review the Constitution for what you want to see in it. You suspend it unilaterally. You actually included terms of reference that originated from the Commission of Inquiry, most of the 48 or some of the 48, and you basically, the particular committee that was actually voted in by the House of Assembly in 2021, you abandoned the entire group and you kept whom you reckoned. You talk about the 2 or 3 that the governor added, but you don't talk about the 2 or 3 that the governor dismissed from the original panel. And then you have a 16-member board, and you're saying, we are going to give you a constitution for you to review. But on June 9th, 2022, you amended and took out specific portions of it. To get those portions back in, you have to go to the Privy Council and reintroduce them so that they then become, again, a part of what we do not know, whether or not they will be reintroduced in whole or in parts or not at all. So we have to then be vigilant.
Anything that we can do to take advantage of the current situation?
If there is any time for us to mobilize in force, in numbers, with a clear message that what they've done on 9th June 2022 is not acceptable if you want to make sure that we have a proper review of our Constitution, then return the parts of the Constitution that you have amended to, for starters, number one, consider for discussions by the citizens of this country those 7 items that we have looked at in terms of possible to bring before the commission, I might add. But if they become main terms of reference, these are the items that, based on the chat, of which a number of people are a member, that the people over the years have been making reference to. Number one, making sure that we have the referendum provisions in the Constitution, not just in a statute that is not being acted on. Number two, creating a particular timeline for self-determination. I did not say a timeline for independence. For the people to determine whether they want to remain as is and the implications of it. For the people to decide if they want independence and the implications, whether they want free associated states and its implication, whether they want to become a particular, like Guadeloupe and the other areas in terms of, there is a political term. Self-determination is a process determined by the people. And I'm saying a provision for that and a timeline for it needs to be addressed. Then a provision for recall.
We have a call on the line, but the question of the hour is, how within our current situations and mandate?
Okay, let me just answer that there now.
Yeah,
if the minister is coming here on next week, Thursday, then mobilize and send a message, not just with 20, 25, 30, 35 people. Now that people are more enlightened as to what is being faced, then they must decide whether it is in their interest to send a clear message by turning out in numbers and send a message to Honorable Jesse Norman that this is not acceptable.
That we the people don't accept the order. So it's nothing the sitting members can do, or it have to be a joint effort. Let we have a realistic.
Well, it has to be a people movement. They will meet with the House of Assembly, but it's only 12 of us that will be able to see them at this time. So what I'm saying is that yes, the 12 will represent the constituents, but I have found that when you push it out there, then you get views from all points that the 12 themselves would not consider. So if we can get a compilation of views and take it fully, and or if we have to show up in numbers at the same spot where the governor had said, well, if it's just a few of you coming out, this does not represent the BVI and what they were like.
Pope, welcome to the conversation.
Good morning, Alaro. Heritage. Good morning, Heritage again.
Yes.
Good morning, Alaro Malone. I listened to the guy. I think I was Tuesday or Wednesday when England said that they're very well satisfied with the progress of the coalition government with the recommendation. The only thing they wanted by December, they wanted a report on the contract with no big contract. We will be tender. We cabinet waiver intent. That's the only thing them concerned about, and they have to do a report by December, and that.
What we're trying to address is do we in the visit of the foreign guy next week, do we explain to them we want a fresh stance on this review thing? We don't want the order over we head, and we say
to me, the people say them satisfied with whatever the coalition government doing.
I think it is improper for Mr. Pope to indicate that the minister said he is satisfied with everything else and only to give a report in December. That is what is misleading. What he says is that there are a number of deadlines that he appreciates in the first instance that have been missed. You have said on the show a million times, and even Pope, that there are a number of impractical deadlines set all through the recommendations, that it is a setup in terms of whether or not you could adhere to all of these practical deadlines. And if you miss one more, then that there is not what he wishes to see. And number two, and I'll finish with this, is that we have a number of particular areas. We have this order that we have decided will not be immediately enforced. I think we should concentrate on what the written text is. And this is why I said I was not going to just read it. I was going to have you send it out so everyone could read it for themselves. And if they conclude what Pope has concluded, well, then that's what everyone has concluded.
But like my semi
Thank
brother,
you.
I didn't want the moment get confused. We still have a call on the line. Let's go to them first. Oh, Tree, good morning. Welcome to the program. Go right ahead.
Morning, Honorable Melvin. What are you saying?
I'm good.
Honorable Harrigan here.
Yes.
I think when Pope acts a Christian, he should not be addressing you like that. He needs to have some kind of manners and respect. That's all I can say.
True. And we don't want to lose grasp of the opportunity before us. Maybe people don't care. Maybe they don't
All I'm
see.
saying, if he acts a Christian, do not address the man like that.
No,
Have some kind of respect.
we know, King. We're on board with you, and even realizing the topic of the divorce is left field, right field, center field. If we could capitalize on the moment, we might make progress. So now what we really saying that, you know what, let's see what the leaders them say. I wonder how the people them feel for 1-10 or 5 guys. Should we use the religious falling apart of the UK system as a chance to stand up and take back our autonomy while we have a chance, or do we just, who cares, let's go to a party tomorrow and continue? That's really what we were trying to focus on today. 441-10 or 5, we lost a few calls in the process.
All right. Have a nice day otherwise, Mr. Malone.
Yeah, man, that
Okay,
is
thank
fun
you very
in the
much, sir.
building. That is
Yes,
fun
sir.
in the building. So Mr. Malone, you would be all for the rallying of the people and trying to get an adjustment.
Well, yes, because I
and
think
seizing
that,
the
as I'm
moment.
saying, my goal of making sure that people get as much of the information necessary is critical. And I want to just add, for those who have not read the recommendations, that there are some areas that will be debated in the House of Assembly. We will have to debate whether or not it is in the best interest of the Virgin Islands to have judge-only criminal trials. There are people in-house and people in this community that have to make a decision as to whether or not that is best for us. There is a particular other provision that the minister cited, whether or not the amendments to the register of interest is compellingly prohibitive, or it should be everyone can go in there, don't say who you are, go in there with a camera, take pictures, come out and just blast it. If that is okay with everyone. We have the particular civil servants who they had brought the particular measure. This is what Honorable Charles had said. They had brought it at the 11th hour, bring it to the House of Assembly, and expected it to be rubber stamped. But it will affect the particular interest and information of every person sitting on boards, sitting in the civil service, and sitting in the others. Should we not have them understand what confronts them first? These are the areas that are still to be examined. So we have to understand that this is not just an overnight sensation. This is an area that we have to consider step by step by step.
All right. So we agreed to that, and we agreed to the different angles being discussed. So you think before the day is out, very early next week, we will have a unified stance from the opposition and the government on what is our plan as a nation when
well, I can't say if before the day out whether the opposition and the government will come to a unified stand. I am saying that they should. I am saying that they must. But I am going to take the conversation directly to the population, whether it's 30, 35, or 40. A population census is of national importance right now, so that we know what we're dealing with. In 2000...
sorry, someone suggested that to me last night in a conversation. Can we set up a digital system where all registered voters sign in and you get an email, hey, I have a survey out, we need your opinion on XYZ, and then you submit your thoughts? Can we conduct a digital system where we do that?
Well, I think that Honorable Malone is very efficient when it comes to that type of IT particular suggestions. So from the House, it could be good, it could be set up with his leadership, and we can get the IT departments within government. Because one thing I know, we have some highly skilled public officials in the service
but
that once they're given a task, nothing is impossible for them.
Okay, let's go to the phone lines. There we go. Carla, good morning, you're live.
Great rising,
yes.
everyone. How's everyone doing?
Yes, Dr. Blessings, we're here. We're trying to see if we can capitalize on the present shortcomings and how we could probably should use this opportunity to take back our autonomy.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. First of all, I hear loud and clear what Minister Malone is saying. And for persons who have wisdom and people who understand things, it shouldn't be that difficult to understand or to understand. First of all, we can't call what the UK came to do down here recommendations. These were demands. Say it plain as it is.
Yeah.
A recommendation can be chosen to or to be rejected. And as far as they're playing their cards, there is no room for saying, I don't want this.
Right.
So let's say it for what it is. It's a bunch of demands. Do this or else. Now, there's no way that we can be comfortable with what they have done so far and what they are asking persons to sign on to. And there's no way anybody can sit comfortably and just go on their porch and drink a glass of wine and say, let's just, sit here and whatever happens, happens. Because if they get through with what they intend to do, which they've already had a lot of things done in their favor behind closed doors by the so-called leaders who were supposed to have come to us from the beginning. They have signed a whole bunch of things that if they continue down the path and they realize, if I can get you to give me your shoe and call it a recommendation, I can end up taking the very shirt off your back and putting you butt naked in the road. And that's exactly what they're doing to the BVI.
So, Doctor, how can we seize the current opportunity before us?
The power is in the people.
Right.
We have already realized that there is no leaders left. They're signing on to whatever the UK has decided to demand from us. And if it continues that way, we're going to sign our lives right on that stamp that they have to be put back into the hand of the slave master with a whip. And that's exactly where it's going.
So you think the people and the government should show a unified front, or the people should...
The people have to push forward. Those people who call themselves leaders will meet us where we are going and stand with us because they are going to prove that they are there with us.
And based on the current opportunities, like both are we playing chess and like you drop sleep or pepper fall in your eye. Should I take advantage of this opportunity now and regain a power hand in the game? I think we should.
Well, look at the UK. Because of those of us who put our feet down and we speak to the earth and to the elements, the same people who are coming to enslave you, we are defeating them in their own country. So now, if you were not willing to wake up when you were supposed to, we are showing you that we are literally breaking apart the people who are trying to enslave you. What will it take for you as a people now to stand up and say, look, the man who is trying to put his foot on my neck is already falling apart by pieces. So if it's only his foot is left, you're going to still leave that one foot to kill you? You can't get up and fight? You can't move forward? The UK has corruption through and through. The people who actually said things here like giving the governor his power are crumbling. The woman who went in and became prime minister had to run for her life. The incompetency and all of what they're doing. But yet still they want the BVI to put their list of registrars out in the open for anybody to come in and do whatever they want. Are we that asleep?
Okay, yeah, man. Well, Doctor, we with you. Hopefully, people hear the cry. Hopefully, we realize the importance of the moment. Let's see what kind of strength rally. Sometimes we condemn Brother John Klein and Ambo and the rest of them, but sometimes them will be the one to govern little organizing and thing. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, you're right, King. Let me tell you this much. I would rather deal with my own people after the dust has settled, and because we can fix each other, we can deal with each other, but let's not let somebody else come kill us.
But I agree to that. But whenever we don't defeat the enemy, we still got to also want to put them foot on we neck worse, and I think that's always such a confusion. But let's see if we could seize the next couple days or hours and make a positive turn in the situation. Hopefully we could hear from different ones strategically. Guys, 441-1005. Here comes another call. Let's try to get this caller on. Caller, good morning, you're live. Welcome to the conversation. We're wondering if we should capitalize on the opportunity. Yes or no? Is there anything legally we can do or should do? Or should we just let things as is? Go ahead.
My brother, the young lady who just called the show, the young lady before me, is on point. I asked a lawyer on a different topic. Okay, what is the meaning of the word recommendation?
Turn on your radio.
They're using the word
Number
as a means of
number 16, turn on your radio, please.
Okay, the access to recommend, not Commissioner Carvin actually recommend, not demand. So why are we in a demanding situation? So she's correct. We, the people, need to stop now and move forward. The leaders don't follow us. They didn't come to us when they were supposed to come to us as our leaders. So now we see no hands. So I think the long term should be over with now. And we either will get up and rise with the people against this thing, just like he's saying every day. All those who they have top degrees and this and this and this. And one of politics I ain't saying nothing. Me want to see them next day. I don't want to see them.
So you're
if you can't stand up, no, you can't stand them.
So you're for seizing the moment and trying to pull back some autonomy. We have number 16 on the line also. 16, let's hear your thoughts one time while we keep the ball rolling. Try to get every voice out. Good morning.
Good morning to everyone.
Yes, man.
Things I want to say are always straight and the second one a little. But nevertheless, it's still something to do with the BVI. The first thing is, I heard a lot of people calling, thinking a fresh election is the way forward. A fresh election is not the way forward. It's not only the way forward, and it's not the biggest thing. We need it, but it's not. So let us get that thought out with it, please. As long as it's the same colonial system we're going to govern by, the fresh election do not so much, because when our people elected, they are going to govern by a script that has been written. And
well,
that is that.
Whoever going gotta be willing to broke up the Dali house. That is a strong point.
Okay. Yeah. And we see clearly, if we take the premier that we have now, we could see clearly he faced with a lot of inside challenges because of the reaction the way he acted today. The type of post he was about a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
True.
You understand? So that tells you the breaking. And if the breaking, come on. I ain't saying anybody will fall, but come on. I thought I have it highly. I is one man who have it real highly. You understand? And I must say rather disappointed.
Go ahead, number 54.
Yes.
Yes.
Good morning, Tola Radio, and good morning, Honorable.
Yes, morning.
I just want to say, though, to the last caller, the gentleman, the difference between when he said about election, we shouldn't, look for election. The reason why people are calling out for election, and the lady said it, whether she's a doctor, I think, said it yesterday and again this morning. The people would like to work with the unity government, but it seems like the unity government don't want to work with us. That's why we are saying we need election so we can get people in there, hopefully, who will walk along with the people.
Judgment.
I just want to say that, right?
We ain't against nobody, but you want a certain type of shoe. You want a certain type of sale. Number 26, good morning. Welcome to the morning, bro. We try and keep the calls flowing. It's a Friday. Go right ahead.
Yeah, morning, Mr. Malone, morning, Heritage, morning, the
Good morning.
All right. Listen, I see this playbook play out before. The people in the BVI are anxious. They feel betrayed. They don't know who to turn to. They're divided. The UK seeing opportunity and the UK moving on that opportunity. That's why they held up that report so long and then moving after the premier got arrested.
True.
This to me, this whole scenario it brings me back to how slavery began in the early days. The people in Africa were fighting against one another, different tribes, different villages, catching one another, enslaving them in Africa, right? And then those leaders in Africa, while they had that division, the UK went to those leaders in Africa and started buying them as slaves. It's the same scenario happening in the BVI. All people are tired of fighting with the politicians, them and the leaders.
tired of changing government over and over, looking for representation.
True.
Mr. Malone, I listened to you this morning, and one of the times when I spoke to you back in the days, you were so intelligent with the history. Despite all your projects with the sewage work, I say, you know, you're a good candidate to run. You know, maybe you should run one of these times. Consider based on the history and the foundations that you knew in the BVI.
Yes.
You understand? And I heard some of that this morning. I heard the real Malone this morning. However, the Malone I heard is not the Malone that we were getting for the last 2.5 years consistently. People wanted the Malone that we heard this morning to be the Malone in the Congress. And I think that's what's happening with our leaders. We look up to people who we believe in. We say, hey, this man is a good man. I know this man is very educated, he's smart, he's rounded, he knows the system inside out. He will be a good man to fight for us. And that's why I say a man like Picomaf cannot go in the seat of the caucus because he'll change.
But listen,
so
if we're sending a majority to the mind, them can't run your own.
Well, give me one. Heritage, I know you're very good points them to follow up in, right?
Go ahead.
All I say right now before I lose my chain of thought here is, look, the BVI is such a vulnerable stage right now that nobody wants to rally around nothing. Here it is this morning, you present a case, right? And it's a good case. It's a strong case. But the problem here is how much people really listening to your message versus the messenger.
Right.
And that's where we at right now, people. I'm very frustrated with this whole thing. I said I'll stop calling the radio station because people don't want change.
Well, sometimes we gotta tough them up because we braff, we mimosa, we do all these other little things. But if we fail to realize how important these things are now, we ain't just be on Facebook pointing out all kind of stat, wondering, well, when our country get dragged from under our foot. You know, so
Brother Heritage, you're right, but there's two big wars going on in the BVI. Okay. A local war with our people and a war with the UK.
True.
You understand?
True.
Nobody know where to pick up weapons to shoot at. Do we go and shoot at the UK who come in with this conspiracy in this plan? You know, I don't think we see in the foreclosures what happening and these people who are applying from the UK to buy land here.
True that.
There's certain laws. It's only because we have certain laws in place stopping people from buying out this place and us.
Correct.
So you know what I mean on this phone. Heritage, have a good man.
No, man.
No. The conversation is good, and I wanted to know again. Do you have any questions that you would like for me to answer?
Mr. Malone, right now, I don't know where to turn in this whole thing. I got a good brother in England. I'm very much up to speed with what the UK doing in their frustration. Okay. I watch UK Parliament TV. I watch a lot of stuff what's going on. I know a lot of stuff what's going on. I don't see them on the air because they have their problems.
Okay,
but
let me just
painting a picture, right? Yeah. That we can't handle affairs, affairs that we've been handling for years. But it just seems that you politicians don't get it. You all need to just start to hold more tongue hall in here. The people take the pressure, brother.
Yes.
Hear the people out in them move forward with our agenda, not our agenda.
Okay, fine. So let me just lend to the conversation here at this time.
And we have 88 on the line who've been very patient.
Okay, stay on Heritage. Take care, Miss. I'll listen.
Right, but
okay,
go ahead, Mr. Malone. If you want to take both of them, then respond. If you want to respond to Mr. Pope.
Let me just say actually quickly that he's correct. Governance, and you've heard me say this before. Governance of our people, by our people, cannot be embraced by our people until we regain some degree of confidence in leaders. This is why I'm saying, by putting forward certain provisions in the Constitution, it will begin the process of regaining the confidence that we had in 50, 60, 70, and the degradation that happened since then could be restored. That's all I need to say on that.
Noted. We lost a call from number 88 and a few others, guys. If you would like, please call back. We have a question coming in via WhatsApp. Can you ask Honorable Malone if the recommendations should have all been debated in the House and then rectified accordingly? Do you think it should have taken a different course versus, hey, Fire's in handcuffs, you'll go in handcuffs too. Run, run, run. Hey.
Well, it was placed in a particular thing. If you remember that the governor had sent out a timetable for which these recommendations would be brought to the public. In May, I was reading it back to a group of people because I go all over the country. So at the end of the day, you're going to meet me there today. In May, they had decided they would give it to the premier and then to the other members of government. In May, they decided that a select committee would fly to the United Kingdom to discuss the recommendations and how to implement them. In June, they should have been brought back to the House of Assembly for debate and to see exactly to the people of the Virgin Islands so that we can have an input in the recommendations that may have been put forward.
Right.
This was all short-circuited on the 28th of April. Within an 18-hour period, we had them out, and they pre-booked tickets by the UK to come down, reach down on Sunday, government changed by Wednesday. It was all orchestrated, well-planned coup. This is what I called it. I might be wrong in it, but that's my impression of it.
We don't know, King. I got people with sense for listening. Number 53, good morning. 88 and any other caller that didn't get through, please just try again. Just please try again. We want to make sure our voice heard. Number 53, good morning. I think this is Tom. 83, good morning.
Good morning, Heritage. Good morning, Honorable Malone. How are you guys doing?
Okay,
Right
great.
there.
Okay, so I got a couple of things to ask. One of them is, Honorable Malone, do you believe that the leaders of the country allow the people of the country to lose confidence in them? Because there's
it is all about, it is a total sum over the years of leaders not doing most of what they have to do, but you also have an entire, I will say this without hesitation, you have, as I mentioned before, a complete civil service of which we have to put in the mix together with the leadership. And yes, confidence has been eroded, might be from the 80s onwards, might be from the 90s onwards, but yes, confidence has been eroded.
Okay, and the second thing is you just mentioned the outline how this situation happened. Under the government, when the governor says that he was going to give the report to the leader, the ministers, them, so them could read it, then they will go to England, and then the public will get the report in June. At the time, was the government agree with that strategy at that time?
It will seem yes, because I think that there were provisions being made to send, once the report was received, that they will actually send it. If you remember, because folks have a tendency to forget train of events, the report should have been ready by July of 2021. It was extended for 6 months to February of 2022. It was not received by the governor until the 4th of April 2022. He held it and sent out his timetable for release of it, and once the 28th of April came, then everything else fell apart. I will add one more timeline in it. By the affidavit signed, it was said that a sting operation was implemented in October of 2021. You can't believe that minor detail, you know.
No, I know. I look at all
and the result of that sting operation came to a head on the April 28th, 2022. It was not without consideration that all of this was done in the time frame.
So this is one of the issues the people of the country does have sometimes with leaders. It does have a time and a place where the leaders are supposed to stand up publicly with the people. And the leaders them just fail sometimes, and that does create the problem. So what England is looking at, when they see people of the country distrust the leaders, it's more comfortable for them to operate because we will trust them instead of trust the leaders. So in those scenarios that just happened there in April, some of our leaders were supposed to stand up publicly on the air with the people.
We agree
and
with that, but
some
remember them
failed to do that.
Well, for different reasons, some had said yes for 3 years to various things that brought the country
exactly.
To I don't know, man. It's a challenge. It's a challenge.
Heritage, the position we're in is here. It is so difficult now, right, for the government to really gain back the trust in the people. Because look, let me tell you something what happened. You see the COI? If those of us who are watching the COI on YouTube, that was a way of increase the distrust in our leaders.
Correct.
Just watch it cleanly. People don't understand that. Once the COI was finished, a lot of our leaders were in trouble.
But
distrust was increased so high that we didn't care what happened to them after.
Well, we all knew there were problems, and then it's like realizing, well, a man keep on lead you without acknowledging that. It was just like one big tie-up. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what our leaders does. They fail to keep the people informed. And they're supposed to know the war that we are fighting. Anybody who goes in to run for this country supposed to know what we're up against. And then you're supposed to prepare for it and help guide the people in that direction. So you can't move forward if the people is not with you. And then that's where the problem just comes in.
Well, like you said, most of them were content with the system as is, whether for spoil and benefit or just to be a good citizen. But it's like, you got to be willing to go in and change the status quo, else it will never make sense for generation
you
to
have
generation.
To be able to stand up and say, this is not right. And it doesn't matter what it costs me.
We need a majority in the House.
And I'm standing up for them.
We need a majority in the House to say that, because the person in the government will send you a position, you'll be backbench, they wouldn't pave your road, they will do you all kind of puppy showness. But if you have the majority now, change could really happen. Guys, it's about 3 minutes to the hour of 10. It's Friday. We in the building. We having a constructive conversation. We pray we don't miss the mark. It'll be interesting to see.
Heritage. Before you go.
Yes, man. I'll definitely give Sam the last word on this element here. Go ahead.
Before you switch topic, is one thing we need to emphasize that Carvin mentioned earlier, and we didn't touch on it. But if the minister who is responsible for the overseas territory put foot on the island next week, if that plan goes through, we the people need to come out and have some form of meeting, demonstration, or whatever it takes to get his attention. Because right now, well, part of the goal would be, first of all, to Carvin articulated, to get rid of this suspension. Right now, we are going through the recommendation, and it's a fact. You cannot implement the recommendation where the people are involved, giving us an opportunity to take part in the democratic process when you're being forced and rushed to implement things that makes no sense, things that takes time. I keep saying it. Things that takes time for the public to be aware, for the governor and everybody else, the premier and all them to have communication, for us to be able to pass things in our life for the next 20, 30 years. The people are being left out. And it's unfair and it's unjust. We are blaming our politicians, but the governor in the UK has a role to play in that as well. So all we have to do now is come out, recognize the challenges that we are having. If there are challenges that we are having because of our inadequacies, then we could deal with that ourselves. But if it has to do with the UK and the fact that they are putting unwanted pressure on the system, because remember, Heritage, we need to be clear, we need to be honest. Some of these things that the governor mentioned in his report that he's unhappy about, some of these things they're not being done in a way that he, the governor, and the UK is directing the politician or the government to implement. and that's what the problem is. So we are trying to pass legislation that would best suit us and best suit the system, the overall opinion of the public. But the governor is saying, no, that ain't good enough. That ain't good enough, so I'm not going to pass that. You understand what I'm saying? We need to look at each issue one by one, examine what is the problem with it, who is actually at fault. Carvin also mentioned about the civil service. We continue to give them a pass, but the civil service falls. Much of what needs to be done, the civil service is who's responsible for implementing those things. But yet, who's responsible for the civil service? Who do they answer to? The deputy governor's office and the governor's office. But conveniently, during the COI, all of the challenges that was mentioned in the recommendation, they overpass those, they oversee those. Challenges in the report, and those fall under the governor. I rest my case.
Okay, so we have Sector 7 in the house. We lost another caller. Sector Powerful thing, don't leave the line. Number 26, good morning. We're gonna give you one more bat. It's 10 a.m. inside the BVI. A busy Friday. We're trying to seize the moment as a territory. Go right ahead, number 26. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, I only have a few comments. The first comment.
Daniels is in the house. Mr. Daniels, where you been?
Well, I'm there, but
go ahead.
I believe that the first song that you should play when you go into the music session is "Chant Down Babylon One More Time" by Bob Marley.
You think we need one more rallying cry as African people?
I think that would be a great start.
We go burn down Babylon
one more time. Yeah, that one there. That's a beautiful song.
Call for the Naya Bingi fire. You know about that name, not really in the house, but not really best of the people in the audience, please.
Yo, morning.
The second thing is that, well, it is, yeah, the thing is that the situation when they're going to suspend the Constitution, or part of the Constitution, I found it very surprising that I did not see certain members of what is now the government of the Virgin Islands speak out against that. Speak out against it. I found that silence to be particularly disturbing. But we are not strangers to silence from our political leaders. So, but in doing this constitutional review, then it cannot take a year. We need to have a proper investigation as to what government systems will work for us. What we have now is a bastardized version of the Westminster system. In the UK, the Parliament has so many MPs that they cannot be used as a rubber stamp for the executive, meaning the government.
Right.
And they could be held to account via various different committees and so on and so forth. And they have tried to do something here with our house system. Well, we have, but you have so much government members on these committees and in the House of Assembly that it doesn't produce accountability that we are looking for as a people. So we need to do an investigation as to what system will work best for us without unduly increasing public costs. But as you know, there's a cost to everything.
Yeah, but if your system work better, even though it costs more, if you need 10 more employees in whatever department to make sure that you could function and obligate yourself as a nation to grow, it'll be an investment for growth, you know?
Exactly.
Government is a government who are making money, because they're spending money, you know? Matt Millie setting up, he taking the guitar out of the case. My lawyer in the building. Number 10, turn down your phone, please. We're joined by Honorable Carvin Malone live on the phone lines. Number 10, go right ahead. Mr. Daniels, you're welcome to stay on the panel. Go ahead.
Yeah, morning, gentlemen.
Go ahead.
Good morning.
Yeah, you can hear me?
Yes, man. Go ahead. Mr. Christopher in the building. Go ahead, Mr. Christopher.
Yeah, sorry. I'm saying that one of the challenges that we're having is the narrative that they're using, and we're not being careful about
You know, people can build up a narrative. You could imagine we have a territory or a country where you now have a House of Assembly, that the governor cannot enter the House of Assembly because only the people's voice and the people's business is done there. You have a cabinet form of government where the governor doesn't have a vote. But now we are now being led by a governor to make changes that the people didn't approve, and we're following along. So we have to be careful that because an incident happened, whether we believe it or we don't believe it, the fact of the matter is that incident has not been heard in court. And we are now being forced to make changes to our constitution at a rapid pace, things that are going to affect our entire lives. Can you imagine we are discussing whether we are going to implement a system in our court where judges are going to be the ones who are making the decisions instead of having a jury of your peers? A jury of your peers is so fundamental to the democratic system right now in the court system. You could imagine we are being forced backward into having individual people make decisions like that. And who all of this is being orchestrated and led by someone who does not have the authority under our constitution in our House of Assembly and in our cabinet. And I'm saying that if our people are so easily, that our minds are being changed by a narrative, I can take one of your greatest successes, your ability to build a new hospital that we were looking for so long, and I can create all kind of illusions about it and make your people feel disappointed about it. If I can take your building of a cruise pier by your own people and create uncertainty and say, oh, the project overrun, and we argue this, and so we don't recognize our successes. If I can take your expansion of an airport project where planes were saying that they wouldn't travel, and you are able to develop these things, and you've been able to develop the whole country, and yet people have cloaked your mind to believe that your leaders are less, and as a people you're not worthy of anything. And all your gains throughout this last 100 years that your people have fought for, you are now sitting back because you're confused. And so the narrative, the way that we talk and the things that we take for granted and how it's easy for us to call each other corrupt, even though there's no factual information to support it. This concept of innocent until proven guilty is gone out the window. And so we now distrust, we are being forced to distrust the whole system that we've grown up under. And so our successes, we don't feel proud to stand up anymore. We don't feel proud to defend the Virgin Islands anymore. We don't feel proud of what we've built because we allow all these narratives that are unproven. I'm going to say them again, they're unproven. It is fun. It is something that we're struggling with, and that's why we're having the distrust. But I want to say two things that came to me is that the way that we have to fight this battle is on three fronts. We have to fight it legally with the legal bodies, minds, whether local or international, because in the United Nations, there are cases like these and we have rights. Our rights are not given to us by the UK. Our rights are given to us by the international community. And so we have a duty to go to those international bodies and stand up there. We also have a duty to go to the religious community and fight it on a spiritual level. True. And make sure the churches and the individuals in there fight for on that level. And we have a duty to break it down for the people who may not understand in the grassroots level and fight it on those fronts. It might seem like an easy thing to just say, let we all rally and march, but we're fighting with people who specialize in division. True. They specialize in colonialism, they specialize in division. So look at all laws that we have and how easy the governor is trampling on all laws. The things that we hold sacred, our constitution, doesn't have all of these things as a lawmaking body and people who are elected by the people. We are saying that we want democracy. But the governor is telling you they are going to show up and change your laws without your consent. Judgment. And you better match to show that you don't want your laws changed. Not that they have to get permission from you, you know. You have to match to show that you don't want your law changed.
The line's maxed out. If you're on the line and you had a chance to contribute, minus Sector 7, Malone and Mr. Christopher, we max out lines wise if someone don't mind freeing a line. Keep going, Mr. Christopher. You even got McMillie rallied up. Go right ahead. Mr. Christopher.
So I'm just saying, my brothers and sisters, we have to be careful because, you know, for a long time they paint a picture that black people less, that we can't do nothing. They tell you about the Arabs, they're all bombers and they're all this, and they paint these pictures and these narratives.
True.
And when we travel around the world, we realize they were lies. And we into the same narrative. It's being played out on us right now.
Can I add something, Troy?
Sure, go ahead.
Go ahead, my brother.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Because I want for us to truly understand, because sometimes I wonder if it's only 1% that grasp this. The National Security Council, right? It is the constitutional makeup of it. The governor, the premier, the deputy premier, the commissioner of police, and the attorney general. We have a situation where we as a people seem to accept that they want to take the particular, and I'm not accusing the commission of anything other than there are some incidents that have to be looked into, right? You can take it not to the Judicial and Legal Service Commission, of where his employee was in terms of considered, but you're going to take it to the National Security Council, of which he was one of 5 members. Okay, fine. I don't know. The governor says that his case was considered by that council, and he didn't say unanimously or not. So I don't know if that is the case. But at minimum, the commissioner should have recused himself from sitting on that particular hearing. We don't know if the hearing. Well, we have to assume, based on what the governor said, the hearing took place. Wait, okay, one second.
You're kind of talking.
And once the commissioner is recused, it leaves 4 other persons. Did they all hear the case, and did they all approve of what the governor said? That's my only input. Thank you. And might I add, Najan case should have been taken before the Public Service Commission. Was it done? I am not sure. But what I'm saying to you is we have about 20 criminal investigations that were recommended. And we are pleased to sit down and listen to our brothers and sisters being just picked up one by one by one. The day in court must come. But we must see the process is going to be critical for us. Thank you.
But let me add to that. Let me add to that real quick, Heritage. I think it's important to highlight. The governor gave us a brief statement, but we don't know whether or not a full investigation was actually conducted, and if it was, by whom? Was it an independent body? Who did they interview? There's a lot of questions pertaining to that whole incident, and then unless we are able to get the governor to answer those, we'll never find out the truth. But we are being led to believe that this governor is so holy. He's above reproach, and anything he say is godly, and we have to stop doing that. We have to now challenge the governor to answer the questions, because the governor, in his statement, the two that he and the now foreign minister said that the people of the Virgin Islands deserve good governance, and they are desperately in need of it. Well, part of that good governance is by setting examples. If the governor is not setting examples of good governance, how are we to trust that they're going to impose good governance on us as local people?
But Sam, I think one of the fundamental issues is that you can barely get those who are elected to answer your questions intelligently. and this isn't just true in the BVI, it's very true in the United Kingdom. If you ever see how they answer questions how the various prime ministers answer questions in prime ministers' questions in the United Kingdom, they never actually answer the question that is asked. They always answer some other question. But nonetheless, they give some kind of answer. But if around the world you can't get elected persons to answer questions properly, how in the world do you expect to get somebody unelected who is not accountable to the people to answer any sort of question at all?
Can I say one more thing about the narrative?
Sure,
because
we're
in a time now where we see so many countries having significant challenges with all that's happening after the pandemic, recessions, all that kind of stuff like that. We could have said, like so many countries who've been in front of the IMF and the World Bank because they ran their country broke and they had so much debt. As we can see, the UK right now, they're in significant financial trouble. Well, we could look at the BVI and we could say that we didn't do that. We could say that as a territory, we didn't run up ourselves in this set of debt that we can't repay, and we could give ourselves a B, at least a B plus. Even if you don't say an A, at least a B plus, you could say you ain't run yourself in that kind of trouble. But we don't. We are being fed another narrative. The narrative in this time we are being fed is that we didn't do a good job with nothing. And they're searching through everything they could find and trying to find a reason why, as a territory, you have not been successful. Yet the BVI has been extremely successful to the point that when aid is being given out, they say you ain't qualified for none. You in a high-end bracket. You're in a bracket where you don't have these. You ain't suffering or whatever like Haiti. Yet they're trying to. You have not been successful.
Right. So, Mr.
To the point where they're trying to tell you that your people don't have to decide anymore. You asking for your democracy, where you vote and you decide. You don't have the time for that. The governor and the FCO, they have time frames that they want these things accomplished by. And we have to be a lot more intelligent than that. Over the last 10, 20 years, there's some UK companies, the significant amount of money that they took out of the BVI territory. We had march and protests. I ain't seen none of them in front of COI. None of the British companies. I'm telling you, none of them at all in shop. And so they're always in a position where they're investigating their own selves. The governor can tell you he's investigating his own self now. And we sit down and we accept that. And listening for recommendations that a jury system in your court is going to be changed in a specific manner where jury of your peers can't happen. We sleeping, man. The narrative, them. They just, whatever they tell us, we just listen to, and we got to get away from that. As intelligent people, we have to start to say, listen, hold up a second. Let's either get some independent entity to look at it. Let's see if these things, what it is, we are suggesting and agreeing to, because these things continue to be a problem. And my concern have been the slow motion approach in which it has happened. Everybody wants to see what can happen. But by the time the frog done boil in the pot start off cold. And then the pot start to boil, and by the time it starts to get hot, you done boil. And so we have to be a lot more intelligent than that and follow our own systems. It have a reason why the governor cannot come into the House of Assembly. It have a reason why in the cabinet, the people who elected are the ones who make decisions. Because internationally it was found that colonizers, they don't want to let you go. Colonizers don't want to let you go. It don't matter not whether or not you had an Emancipation Proclamation. It don't matter how wrong they say slavery was. They're addicted to it. Okay. And every time the UK gets in financial trouble, they're going to be back again.
Mr. Christopher.
Anyhow, that's all I have to say for now, my brothers. If we can't see it, only time will tell.
No, we on the same board with you. How do we show unified front next? We can take back our autonomy in the shortest amount of words, and we have a next caller, and then we bring everything to a halt.
My brothers, we need to bring attention in the international community
to the illegal things that the UK are doing. These things are violation of our constitution.
Can you do that on our behalf, as Shawan? They contacted you to make these powerful statements. I
haven't been contacted by the Premier or Shawan. I'm saying that whatever you need me to help to do, and this is something that we've seen throughout all life, throughout the bigger history we've been going through this.
By the UN, no, he seemed like he educated, he making good sense. Christopher, can you get the cost of a ticket?
I just saying this one thing, right? The people have to play their role. The politicians have to play their role. The liars have to play their role. The complacency that we have is not good enough. It's almost as though we don't know the agenda.
Like,
okay, well, how long did I take you to see it?
Macmillan, don't go nowhere protesting by yourself. If everybody is going where you don't go at all. If we all win together, we all suffer together. Escape, do voting thing done. Good. We have number. Miss, my line them full again. We have number. I think it's 35. We try and get into the music. DJ Macmillan Ichi to string the guitar. And it rightfully too. Number 35, good morning. We're going to give you the final word, then Mr. Malone can make his closing remarks. Go right ahead.
Okay, Heritage, real quick. Troy is on point 1,000%. Kiko said better than what you said. I hope you're listening. Heritage, for you, I recommend to you that this morning Brad show probably go in the evening when everybody's at home so they can get there and just and listen and put it in place, because this is a very important show you have. And I think right now the mass need to hear it. So I recommend you think about it and let's get it on and go in. That's my 2 cents.
Well, appreciate the call. I know people listening in their cars, people listening at work, people trying their best they can to tune in. And however we need to best meet the needs of the people, we're going to try our best as a brand to accommodate. Mr. Malone, definitely a passionate conversation. We got more than the hour that we allotted. And let's see over the next coming days if we as a people can rally. At this point we can't watch face or none of the above. If we can attack on all fronts, if the opposition can come out, if the government can come out, if we can have an organized stance that these people realize that we're not playing and we need our autonomy. We ain't against nothing, but don't go hold no evil over we head. We hope that will be the course of action we see in the coming hours and the next couple days as a territory. Else, once again, like I said, the threat of being set back 100 years here, 70 years there, and 50 years over. They linger at our doorstep. I want to leave my son in no kind of slavery. Mr. Malone, your closing thoughts before we go?
Okay, great. It'll be short. I think that it was summarized perfectly by Troy. We have to have a legal approach, a religious leadership approach, and a grassroots approach. The grassroots approach is what leads all of it. And from Anegada straight to Jackson Dyke, and from Jackson Dyke to Anegada. And we sweep the map up and down until we get it in terms of this. If we are going to change it around and regain the confidence that we need in leadership by our people, for our people, it has to start with the grassroots. It has to start with us. Everyone has a part to play. I will continue to reach out to religious leaders, to legal minds, and to the other persons. I have bemoaned the fact that we're not hearing enough from, except for your legal representative on Tola Radio, we have not been hearing enough from other legal minds. And at the end of the day, we can't continue to hide behind this proverbial banana tree and waiting to see what happened. Because as Troy said, when the frog realizes it, he done boil. So we have to make the particular stance so that we can do it. There's no one who's going to come out and say that my way of doing it is right. No one else could have any say. Let everybody have their say as far as I am concerned. And if there are any questions for me to answer, then pose the question. Don't come just with statements. Pose the question for me to answer so that we can then get it moving. But we have to have all of the islands, all of the people within the next, we have 8 days between, only 7 now, 7 days between now and next Thursday, however many hours, we are hour behind. So we have to start the planning stage now.
I hope the leader of the opposition has been doing something since the program has been on air. I hope you who
Well, it's a people's power. Did you hear the doctor, you call us doctor, say the leadership have to follow the grassroots.
True.
So I'm saying is that everyone has a role to play. Let's play it.
I agree. All right. Well, Mr. Malone, with that said, we appreciate you coming in on a Friday. Definitely a meaningful conversation this morning. I think people really have an idea. Even if they try to dilute and sidestep, there's a chance before us, and I think everybody, for our best interests, should, if we're going to make a move, we make a move. If we're going, it's a chance once again for us all to get on the same page and move forward as a unified body. Mr. Malone, thanks for your presence. We hope